Well, that doesn't mean you should get a quarter.
Oh, Mary, Dan, don't worry about it. Dan probably end up getting 100.
That's great.
Okay, now, okay, let's look at the page 29 here. There is a problem, okay, you'll see here. It's a fairly difficult problem. I want you to take some time and look at this problem. Read it over, all right? You will notice here, we have a married person, okay? Married person, age 36, 37, two of them, 2 children, okay? Rent's not important, is it? He makes $18,000 a year. She makes $12,000 a year, W-2. That'll become important later, W-2 salary. Notice the debt. He has, first of all, cash, he has $7,000, and then his debts. See where it says Visa $500? Write total due on top of that.
On top of Visa?
On top of the Visa thing. So on top of the 500. And it's $25 a month. So Grace, if you wanted to know how many months remained on that debt, what would you do?
25 divided by 5.
Right, for sure. Okay, all right. Now, notice it says, I'm going to give you certain things at the bottom. As a contract purchaser, $65,000 buying a single-family home. Taxes I'm giving you, aren't I? Hazard insurance I'm giving you. Now, I want you to skip 4, 5, and 6 for a minute. I want you to add 7. I'm going to give you 7, A, B, and C. That do not appear on these sheets. 7A, I want you to write single federal tax tables, page 72, 73. 7B, married federal tax tables, 74, 75. 7C, state tax tables, 76, 77, and number 8 is use 1980 Social Security figures on page 71. Now here's what I want you to do now. Keep the same page you have, and on the page that's next to it, not the one over, but no, right across, so you don't have to flip anything, divide that in half. I don't care how you do it, up or down or sideways. This is going to be scrap sheet. And I want you to write at the top, conventional, page 12. Conventional, page 12. All right, conventional, page 12. And then, on the bottom, I want you to write FHA Formula 1.
You mean the other side?
The other side of it, sorry. FHA Formula 1, page 16. Now, once you've done that, keep your hand on where you are. Pull out page 12. Pull it out, and then pull page 12 out, and then go back. I'll get you. Go back to your original problem. And what I want you to do, you now look what you have. You have the formula in front of you, you have the problem in front of you, and you have scrap paper. I want you to do number 4. It says conventional. This is the conventional. You do these things in real life now, okay? You should. Conventional, look what it's going to ask for. 5% down, 12% interest rate, so you're going to have to use that little trick to get 12%, aren't you? Plus it's insured, so you have a 1/4 point PMI. We're number 4 in the Givens. Fannie Mae loan. Okay, now, this is not intended to trick anybody, okay? This is not, this is an adult class, adult people, they want to cut their throats over this. Basically, it's a plug-in. The question I'm going to ask you at the end of this is, does the guy qualify? If he doesn't, why? Okay? Okay, let's go over it. If you turn your page, that's why I tell you not to turn ahead. If you turn one page, you'll have the answer. But I want to go over
Now
it.
you tell them.
All right, I want to go over it though with you. Okay, this one's relatively simple for you all. It's a brilliant students I have today. All right, sales price. Okay, if you look up here, you can see 65,000. I said 5% down, right? So you get the loan amount 61,750. Okay, did everybody get that? That's no big deal. Then I said 12%. So you have to take your trick. You have to take 953, add 72 cents to get 1025. That's going to be the rate of 12%, isn't it? You multiply that, and you get 632.94. Your quarter point, you simply take 18 cents, right? That's what it is per quarter. Taxes, insurance I gave you. His gross monthly income's $2,500. You simply add $18,000 and $12,000. And we get 0.297. Second part of the formula incorporates the first part, doesn't it? So we get 743 again, plus his debts. The debts, I threw you a little curve. I told you it's a Fannie Mae loan, didn't I? So the only loans that are going to count are going to be the Visa, MasterCharge, the car. But Sears isn't going to count, is it?
No.
Why? You tell me.
There isn't enough of a balance.
No idea at all?
For that many months.
What is it? What counts as a long-term debt with Fannie Mae?
Over 10.
Okay, all right. Just so you understand, we teach methodology here, not numbers, and as long as you understand what's generally happening, okay, I don't care if you got the right answer or not. All right, any questions at all on what we've done? Okay, that was a piece of cake. Put your page back in, put page 12 back, and pull out 16. Now the real fun starts. Now we start to separate them, right? All right.
I think there's something I still don't understand about that.
Oh, by the way, go ahead, you can put them back in. Does the guy, just on the basis of what you see up here and what you know of the conventional formula, does this person qualify, Terry?
No.
No. Okay, and why not?
His ratio is too high
On where?
on both.
On both of them. Grace, do you understand why? He's supposed to be no higher than 0.28, is he?
Yes.
So he's high on income, isn't he? I mean, his income isn't enough. Okay? And B, his debts obviously have thrown him out here. He's now over 0.36, isn't he? So he doesn't qualify on both ends of the formula. You do A and B on these formulas. They both count. But you see the reason? One has primary emphasis on income, which is very hard to affect. The other has emphasis on income, including debts.
But you can use both, and whichever one qualifies.
No. You use both. If one of them knocks you out, you're knocked out.
You
It's
have to
A
use
and
both.
B, not A or B. Okay, pull out 16. All right, now here comes the fun. I want you to do the FHA, this problem, okay, using FHA. Now, let's look just for a minute on the problem. Number 6, everybody on number 6, on page 29 for a minute? Let's follow along. It says, FHA eligible $5,000 down. I'm giving you a break here, aren't I? You can deduce from seeing this that the down payment is much more than the minimum would be normally required. So you don't have to worry about acquisition costs and figuring it out, do you?
But you don't have to worry.
No, you just subtract, right? Isn't 5,000 more than what it would normally be? Sure, a lot more. So you just subtract 5 from your 65, all right. Anyway, it says 11.5% plus a half-point insurance. That's where you're going to use your FHA trick now, all right? The tax tables I gave you in 7 and 8. I caught a problem in the first class that seemed to continue. Most people apparently don't do their own taxes. In Virginia, the way the federal law is, they both have incomes, don't they? Separate incomes. All right? If you will turn to page 71, everyone turn to page 71, and look at number 1. 71, number 1, says Social Security for normal wage earners. They're normal wage earners, aren't they? They're not on commission. All right? Does everybody follow that one? Number 1. I want you to use 1B, because for 1980, even though this is 81, when you get out in the real world tomorrow, you can use the real world figures. It says 6.13% up to 25.9. So, on Social Security, you take it on each individual's income, which means you would take 6.13 times $18,000 and then divide it by 12 months, right? Because we underwrite in terms of months. And for the girl, for the woman, You would take 6.13 times $12,000 and divide it by 12 months, wouldn't you? Okay, I just want to let you know that. Okay, you have everything there you need, okay? So you can get started now. Win, lose, or draw, let's look at the FHA solution,
All right.
okay? The solution, another reason why I don't have you turn up in your book, if you'll turn up 2 pages to page 31, you'll see the answer there. But I want to go over it,
Yes.
okay? I want to go over it on the
So you're-
chart up here. Now let's look at me and then look at your scrap page. I think you'll find it easier that way. Okay, don't look at your answer sheet. Look at your scrap sheet.
Okay.
Basically what we did, didn't you? Okay, good. All right. Basically what we do is we start gross monthly income, right? $2,500. The formula says subtract out the federal taxes. Practically everybody got that right, and those that didn't know how to get it. All right? We get 201370. And then, in part A of the formula, we first off, the down payment is much more than a minimum, so you can just subtract that from the sales price, can't you? And we get a loan amount of $60,000. Then, I said the rate is 11.5%. So we have to take the 953, which is 11, plus 36 cents to get 11.5%. Multiply it out, we get 593.40.
Okay.
Okay? Well, it is, see, I teach method, I don't teach numbers, so as long as you know what you did, you know, who cares? All right. Taxes, I gave you. Insurance, I gave you. The half-point trick, I said just multiply by 416, so everybody should have got that. And then approximate maintenance is 65, approximate utilities
I
95.
forgot the $30. I can't believe it.
What 30?
The 30 that
Remember
you
it
add on
says
for utilities on
plus
top of
30.
it.
Oh, for the, okay, that's all right though. All right, so anyway, we get 877, and we come out at .436. Does he qualify under the first part of the form? Yes, he does, quite easily, doesn't he? All right, now let's do the second part. The second part incorporates the first part, doesn't it? Okay, so you just start out with 877 on your line. We add, now, if you will look at your sheets, this is the first error in the book.
Says how.
Now, you'll notice in B on your answer sheet, you're on page 31 now. Turn to 31. The reason it's only $1 something, but I want to correct it so you don't have a problem tomorrow. Okay? All right, look at me now. All right. You'll notice the bottom of the page says 877.36, then plus 54.38. Put that in brackets and draw a line down to the bottom of the page. You're on page 31. Okay? Put this in brackets. Okay, the next one, the 54.38. Okay, draw a line down. Now I want you to write these words. Error should be $55.82, man plus 2 children. Obviously that's a state tax, isn't it?
Should be
You
what?
see,
55 what?
$55.82. And that is tomorrow if you want to look it up and you see this crazy number
82.
here, you go nuts, all right? The next one says $34.90, doesn't it? Just put her state tax. The next figure you can put in brackets is $91.95. You write his SS, Social Security, his SS for 1980. 6130, the next figure put in brackets, write her SS. And then the 305 are the debts, obviously, which are made up of 25 Visa, 30 MasterCharge, and the car. Okay, Sears only has 7 months left, and Beneficial Finance only has 2 months left on it, doesn't it? So those, obviously, we wouldn't count those. All right. Now, go ahead.
I'm
Question.
sorry.
No problem.
On both the Social Security, on both the state taxes, I had a different figure, and I went back and checked it twice. I have, they're just minor, but 57.26.
Yes, you know what it is? Because of the way the bracket is divided there. Just use my figures. The way the bracket is divided, just on that one particular thing, either one will count. Just so we will, I'm just trying to keep it uniform. It's the way they did the tax table there. No problem. All right, but on the second page, okay, on part B of the formula, does he qualify?
Yes.
Yes, he does. Now, he's starting to get a little tight though, isn't he?
Yes.
What's dragging him up, if you had to infer from the formulas? His debts are starting to drag him up, aren't they? Okay, put that page back in, put page 16 back in, and put 16 back in, and then go to page 17, which is the next one, and just look at that, page 17. and now we're going to take the same problem. I'm not going to have you do it because you all really understand this stuff. We're going to take FHA, the same problem for FHA formula number 2, but I want you to follow me on the board here. And you can see, if you have page 17 in front of you, you have the actual formula. With FHA number 2, which they picked up 2 formulas, at FHA they actually worked both of these out. Okay, this was copied from VA, obviously. Anyway, they start out with gross monthly income minus federal tax, don't they? They start out with net. Then, remember we said we're going to subtract out our 3 big categories. What are those 3 categories? Total housing costs, total debts, total deductions. Well, what do you know? If you look at your formulas and you remember where this 1424 came from, that's part B of the formula, right? That includes all those categories. Total housing costs, total debts, total deductions. All right? So we subtract that out. We get 588. When you see a double hook arrow, what does it mean, Mary? We see a double hook always? Don't look at that. What does a double hook mean? It means we're going to compare something, doesn't it?
Oh, okay.
All right? And we're going to compare 588 against what? An arbitrary amount? Okay. Does this person qualify? Does this guy qualify on the second formula, FHA number 2 formula?
Yes.
He does, doesn't he? How much does he qualify by?
$88.
By $88.81. Does anybody have any problems with this? All right. If you don't have any problems with this, we'll go flip back to page 33. And now we're going to do the VA problem, or the problem with the VA solution. And this you should be able to follow without too much trouble. Now, first off, we underwrite in terms of months, don't we? So we start out with $2,500 minus the first category, which is what? Total housing costs, isn't it? The total housing costs, if you had worked this out, remember now it's a no money down, so the P&I would be a little bit higher, won't it? We come to $642. Taxes and insurance I gave you. Maintenance and utilities. Notice the maintenance figure with VA is a little bit lower. Well, maintenance, it's in your VA formula, okay? The maintenance figures usually run somewhere between $15 and $30, somewhere near. It depends on how high the price of the house is. All right? So anyway, you can go back and look at it later, but the utility figures we add on, and we get $851. We subtract it, and this is our remainder. Then we do total debts. Does anybody here pick up on the debts here? What differences are in this debt? Sears. Why?
Because
No, don't look it up.
6 months.
Right, exactly. What counts as a long-term debt with VA?
6 months.
Anything over 6. The Sears had 7 months remaining. So now we have an extra debt in here. That tells you VA can be a little bit harder in a certain category, can it? All right? Then we take the tax figures, which you've seen. We subtract it out now, and we get $583.32. I want you to remember 584, not 583. I'll show you in a minute. There's a misprint later. But anyway, does this person qualify, Terry?
Yes, he does.
He does.
Yeah.
Does he qualify by a lot?
No, but
No, he doesn't, does he? You'll notice here we have 584 over 560. It's in your book, okay, if you can't see it too good here. He only qualifies, okay, by about $23, $24, doesn't he? All right. Now, if you turn your next page, I'm going to show you.
$1, right?
Huh?
You only needed $1 to qualify?
$1 more to technically qualify. Now, the chart you have in your page will look a little bit better than mine up here. However, look at your sheets that you have. Notice how I changed the underwriting guidelines because they went up after this was made. All right, let's look at what this chart says. This chart says, first off, what a difference an increase in interest rates is going to make. Problem number 1. So I did all the work for you. What are we going to be talking about? We're going to talk about conventional, FHA, and VA. Not only that, I'm going to break down FHA 2 ways, aren't I? Formula 1 and Formula 2. Limits, what do I mean by that? These are the underwriting guidelines, aren't they? Remember, it can't exceed 0.28 and 3/6. And with FHA number 1, it can't exceed 0.60/80. Does everybody follow that? Remember, 2 adults, 2 children. This is what the compare 2 figures came from here. All right. This is going to show on the left-hand side the interest rates as they increase. You can't quite see it here to be in your book. 8%, 10% are examples that we did, and 14%. The numbers below 18%, for example, says 734. That's just a rate per thousand. Don't worry about that. All right. Now let me ask you something, buddy. Talking about the conventional, going from top to bottom. at 8%, does this person qualify? I broke it out 3 places, but it's 0.22 and 0.34. Would they qualify at 8%? Yes, in this problem. Do you remember? Yes, they would.
Yeah.
Okay, because it's under 2.8, isn't it?
2.8.
Okay. All right. At 10%, would they qualify?
Yeah. No.
No.
Oh, no.
Twenty
What
come up
happened?
38.
The
No.
38 he would.
Right,
So what does that
38.
tell you?
That it
what the
makes a
problem
big
is.
difference to
10%.
The problem is he has
He's
too
gotta-
many debts,
Right, he's
right?
gotta resolve his debts.
Right. In our example, that we did at what, 11 or 11 and a half, whatever. In our example, which is done at 12%. In our example, does he
No
qualify?
way.
No way, right?
way.
No way, no how. The
No.
debts are way too high, so is the income end. Grace, you follow what we're talking? Okay.
Right.
At 14%, buddy, qualify? No way, no how.
way.
Not in a million years, right?
It's a
Okay.
disaster.
Terry, let's look, okay, at FHA. All right, at 8%, do they qualify?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, this is quite a bit under, isn't it?
Yes.
All right, at 10%, do they qualify?
Yes.
Okay, remember the same problem now. In the example we did, do they qualify?
Yes.
Yes. And at 14%,
Yes.
okay, but is he running into a problem?
He's getting close.
He's getting high on the debt problem. All right, now, Bob, on FHA number 2. Now remember, the 742 is the total available for family support number. I have people usually draw a little double hook arrow if they have a problem remembering how to do it and put 500 at the bottom. But at 742, which is on the top figure, 500 would be on the bottom. Does he qualify at 8%? That's total available after you've net.
Yes.
Sure he does, right? He's got plenty of money left over. All right, 10%, does he qualify? Okay. And the example we did, remember we got 588, does he qualify? Sure he does. It's getting a little tight. At 14%, does he qualify? No, he
No.
doesn't. All right. On the VA example, okay, Grace, at 750,
Yes.
yes, he does, okay? At 10%,
Yes.
okay? In the example we did,
Yes.
getting tight though, right?
Yes.
Okay, at 14%, no. Now let's look at what this actually shows you. First off, it's going to show you two things. One, the disastrous effect of increases in interest rates today, okay? The second thing it shows you how much easier it is to qualify for VA and FHA than conventional. We lost the, remember, same problem, same parameters, okay? We lost the guy at 10%, didn't we? Okay, we didn't lose our people, okay, on FHA number 2 and VA until we got to 14%, and even then, it was close enough that we maybe could have played a game somewhere, okay, to solve his problem and get the deal through for you. So, do you see how much easier it is to qualify for VA and FHA? That's why we take one problem and run it through, you know, the whole course. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is something, if you look at me, the next thing I want to talk about is, we're going to start to get into some of the application areas now, all right? The next thing I want to talk about is a perennial problem. In this business, there's a couple of objections that come up all the time in our businesses, okay? And one of the ones that comes up all the time is interest rates are too high. You know, it's funny, I remember when I used to sell computers for IBM years ago, the top salesman, I don't even know why I can remember, but I can remember it was like yesterday because of the way it developed. The top salesman in our office was a former pilot, a guy named Shaw. Came walking in one day, nice fellow, and said, "You won't believe this." He said, "The interest rates," this is in 1969, he said, "interest rates on VA have just gone up from 7 to 7.5%. And he said, "I don't know how I'm going to buy a house." And I can remember all of us, you know, being young, sitting there saying, "Oh God, the world's falling apart, and what are we going to do?" And it's crazy. I can remember everybody walking out of there saying, "My God, it's, you know, it's over." Well, interest rates are always too high, aren't they? They're too high when they're at 10%, they're too high when they're at 15, they'd be too high if they were 20. Okay, if it goes back down to 10, you're going to be looking for 9 and 7/8 from somebody. Interest rates are always too high. It's a very, very serious objection, though, with prospects, isn't it? Because it's extremely difficult to overcome. The second problem is, when you're a salesperson, is that usually when you find out this problem, it's a subconscious problem, okay, and you never really know that that's the real problem this guy has. You're out there looking at the house and the guy's saying, "Well, you know, we love this house, but it's yellow. My wife just doesn't like yellow house." and you go home and you're all bent out of shape because you showed him a yellow house, and what he really said is that the interest rates are so high today, I can't afford it. But am I going to tell you, okay, it's still because we don't like to admit that we can't afford something. All right? So it is a problem. There are a couple of classic closes, not only in this business, but in all sales. One, of course, is the old Ben Franklin close, right? Someone says they have an objection. You say, well, by the way, Mr. Jones, what are your objections? And he has 2 objections. And you sit down and you write them down on paper, okay? And then you write 20 reasons, right, why you should buy it. All right, okay? Now, the fallacy of that, of course, is the 2 reasons he had might be more valid than the 20 that you had. So there is a fallacy in that one. But it is a classic close, whether you're selling pots or pans or land or real estate. These closing techniques go anywhere. This is the classic technique for taking care of the interest rate objection. It's called the pack a cigarette routine. All right? It's classic whether you sell pots or pans or whatever. It's one of the great closes of all time, and that is to reduce something to a silly so it seems preposterous on the face of it. And gee, why did I even ask that question? Terry comes in and she has an objection that interest rates are too high. The first thing you do is, and you all have a lot of experience, I don't have to tell you, but is you never confront somebody directly. If Terry says interest rates are too high, you always seek agreement, don't we? We always say, Terry, you're absolutely right. And then you proceed to run around and cut her head off in the back, don't you? All right? And that's what we're going to do essentially here. We're going to say, hey, Terry, you know, you're absolutely right. Interest rates are too high. It's unbelievable today, isn't it? And I'll tell you what, let's sit down and work it out on paper. I'm going to show you something. All right, she didn't know we were going to show her, right? Now, what we do is, let's say she's looking at a house, okay, that's $70,000. Okay, this is what the loan amount is going to be. Now, I want you to see if you can follow this. This is the classic close. We're going to talk about an increase in interest rates going from 12 to 12.75% on a $70,000 piece of property. We'll be looking at this side first. The first thing you have to do in this close is you take the interest rate is 12%. The rate per thousand comes to 10.29. Okay? You multiply the loan amount. Now, by the way, it doesn't make any difference if it's 14 or 15, 7, 8%. You can sit down and work this out any way you want. Okay? The key is to do it in front of somebody so you seem real smart. All right. You take the interest rate, the rate per thousand, times the loan amount, and you get $720 is the P&I. However, as loans are structured in our country, the way we pay them off, we know when we make our first payment that the majority of that's interest, isn't it? Only a trickle is interest. I mean, it's principal. He doesn't care. He's not bitching about the principal, is he? He's only bitching about the interest rate going up. So we want to find the interest portion. How do we do that? 3 steps here. Okay, you don't have to look at it now, but generally what we do is you take the pure interest rate, 12%, times the loan amount, you divide it by 365 days, and then multiply it by 30. Comes out to $690. This is the interest portion of the $720 payment. Does everybody see that? Okay, no problem. Then we go over to 12.75. In the same sense that I've said, hey Terry, let's say you say 12% is acceptable to you, but 12.75 obviously isn't. Oh yeah, right, it isn't. All right, so you would go over to 12.75. This is the rate per thousand. Now, do you notice we seek agreement from her that this is okay, but this is too high, don't we? Okay, you always seek agreement as you go on. If not, you're going to lose it at the end. Anyway, you take the rate per thousand, $758. Notice you won't see the work done, but the interest portion of this comes to $733. Now what we do, you simply subtract the interest portion, okay, 12%, from the interest portion at 12.75. It comes to $43.20. Now, the thing I want to point out to you, it comes to $43.20. That is the interest portion. That's the only thing she cared about. That was her objection. But she, because she's looking at, let's say, a $70,000 house, and we can assume, I could get her agreement, I'm sure from it, that she's in, let's say, a 35% tax bracket, which would not be unusual in this price range, would it? So, if she's in a 35% tax bracket, she's going to get 35% of that back from Uncle Sam, isn't she? It's like double entry bookkeeping, right? You got to play fair and square. So, if she's getting 35% back, conversely, she's paying 65% of that, isn't she? The converse is what she's paying. So, out of that $43, she is only really paying $28.08 a month, isn't she? Now, I ask you, Terry, this is the final close, okay? I ask you, Terry, have you ever seen a home in